Yeah.
specifically.
And,
The only budgetary stuff that's public,
uh,
but no issues with them, with employees.
yeah.
Personality, trust, anything that you got going on, that's all executive, but, yeah, budget, pay, all that is public.
Okay. Yeah, because I know it goes through the budget process, just want to make sure that, infringe on anybody's rights or whatever.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if there's something,
More like, if you have something personal to say, don't say it
yeah,
here.
well, no, nothing personal, but,
Well, maybe we can put this to bed quickly. I think the last hour we saw very clearly why a public works director and county engineer is necessary. Jay got up multiple times to provide answers to us that nobody else could provide. And, whether it's Jay or someone else, we need to have that position. As we walk into a $1.6 million project, and we have significant, backlog of infrastructure projects, and a real lack of money, to not have someone with that expertise, I think would be reckless, and a real poor use of county resources. And I would not be willing at all to compromise and say we could do it half-time. I think Jason, and anybody in that position that has that backlog of infrastructure and funding issues, to say that anybody can do that in less than full-time, I don't think we have then I would say that we don't have a good grasp on what the county engineer public works director does. So with that, I would move that we retain a full-time public works director position as a county employee.
We've already hashed this out where we talked about this morning. I would like, and that's how we talked about in executive session.
I have a motion. It's either gonna get a second and pass, or it's gonna die.
Why didn't second?
Okay. It's to retain the position. The position is separate than personnel.
I told you I was entertaining the thought of cutting it part-time. Your motion was full-time, so that's something that I'd like to talk about.
Well, then, to talk about the position, you have to talk about that in public. That's not part of executive session.
Well, I think there's some efficiencies. I do. I think there's some efficiencies. I think there are some lines that, that might get crossed in job descriptions. I believe it could be done with a part-time employee. We spell out what's, who goes where, and I think it could. I think it could be. I mean, Kelly, I don't know, you're sitting here being pretty quiet. You wanted to eliminate the position. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking here. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
well, I was looking at it from a budget position, $104,000. I checked with other counties, and maybe Mary Lou can explain on the BTA process of how we come up with the cost for this position, because Fremont County, their public works director that is a licensed engineer is $50,000. We're $100,000. So it's like, I'm just curious of how we come up with this big of a difference, with the BPA process that we have in here. And are we being efficient, as far as this Franklin County uses a part-time engineer, to come in and help them with different problems that they have with the county. And are we being efficient, being this way? And that was the question, do we need the position? Or is a part-time the better route to go? And I wanted to hear testimony from everybody to get a solid answer. I see what our staff says, and I trust our staff wholeheartedly, how they feel about this position. But,
So my motion dies.
sound like it.
I would ask that this board makes a decision today, because I think it's not fair for our employees. It's not been fair. And this is talking about somebody's life. And I think that we should have a decision today, whether it's part-time, it's full-time, or whatever.
I think,
What was your recommendation?
I think it could be, I mean, I guess, you know, there's no trial periods around here, right? You gotta, you know, I think we could do it. I think this job could be handled. I think there's part of the public work director that could possibly go away. I think the road and bridge supervisor should assume a little bit more responsibility as far as scheduling events and dealing with individual crews. Like, he should be managing the crew and where it goes. And I think it's being micromanaged a little bit. I mean, I just think there are possibilities to cut it to part-time.
You think it's being micromanaged, can you provide some information why you think it's being micromanaged?
I mean, the road and bridge supervisor, I think, should be in charge of his crew.
It's in his job description that he is.
Well, I don't think he's really in charge of that. I mean, I guess we could get some testimony, or, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I guess I don't know.
And that's based on what conversations with the road bridge supervisor?
I mean, I think, I don't know if it's appropriate for Clay to come up, but I mean, I don't think I really know that he's uncomfortable with this, and I am too, you know, talking about the job description with Clay and Jay. Where are you? I mean, Kelly, where are you? You proposed that we eliminate it. Are you at a part-time, or are you at full-time? I mean, where?
Well, after hearing testimony, I would say part-time is what I would feel comfortable with at this point.
You can't change it to part-time until you change the job description, because it's over 4 pages, and it takes Jay over 40 hours a week to do his job, so you're gonna be realizing that you have to come up with a proposal for that before you do that.
No, I love the EPA, I really do.
It's not the EPA though, Sid,
Yeah,
it's
but
our
that's what
job description, so it's looking at Jay's job description and dividing that out, what's gonna come off and what's gonna go on somebody else's. It's nothing to do with the EPA, it's just management at our level. And I think it'd probably be good for the public to know what it's based on, right? Because you just said there's micromanagement there, and talking about what Clay does with his staff, it sounded like micromanagement from here.
I don't think, I mean, there are personnel, I guess I would like to move into executive session and discuss this with the attorney. There are personnel issues that I would like to discuss.
Can we discuss whether there's a public works director first or not?
There is a public works director.
So you're agreeing with Kathy made a motion to retain the public works.
She said full-time, I'm not.
Retain, okay, so, but still come to a decision as to what that public works director position is, having nothing to do with Jay. You know, is it a public works, are you gonna, so you're moving for a half-time public works director position?
I guess I'm not,
And I'm just saying, before that happens, you guys gotta present the public and your staff and everybody else with how it's gonna work, what's gonna happen with this over 40 hours, or over 20 hours that aren't gonna be accounted for, and who's gonna do it, before you make that motion.
I think, I mean, this is something that I would go, I think there's stuff it's a personnel matter, and I'd like to discuss it with you.
But it's not a personnel matter. It's
If I talk about efficiencies that I
Okay.
feel like could be worked on, that have been delinquent in the past, if I bring those up, right?
About the employee or
Yes,
the position?
employee,
Okay, that is executive session, you're right.
really.
So we'll deal with that with the employee. We're talking about the position, which is different.
Well, the
You think that
position-
there could be a part-time
Part-time
person
employee that
who is
can-
more efficient than?
I do. I do.
So can we talk about in this job description, what would get put in a part-time position? And what would come off the job description?
I think the job description basically needs to stay the same. I think there's some efficiencies that could be handled in part-time manner. I think there are stuff that is handled through other departments that they can pick up some of the slack. I know that there's time spent, you know, doing micromanaging that doesn't need to be done.
Okay, like where?
Could I ask a question? Can you talk and define, I think one of the things that's probably confusing for the public as well as the semantics here, do you need a county engineer or a director of public works? You've got your solid waste, you've got your road and bridge, and you have your engineering functions. And maybe that's a starting point for you to talk about if you're looking at the job, because there are 3 very finite functions in his job, and I think that's a critical one of, are you willing to pay for a county engineer?
Well, that's a great point, I
That's-
appreciate you bringing that up. And, I don't know why the public works director needs to be an engineer, because honestly, there is very little engineering done, okay?
I think it's always just been a bonus that he's an engineer. I think public works.
Maybe if we get the right person.
If they're gonna be a grade, it's for public works separately, but it's not on the fact that he has an engineering degree, it's his job description. Correct, Mary Lou?
It's in their
It's in your
acceptable
packet.
experience and training, bachelor's degree in civil engineering, public administration, or a related field is required, and a master's degree is preferred.
So it's just education level, doesn't.
You can hire someone with a public administration degree.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know why the job would have to be an engineer. I'm looking for someone with,
Well, sorry to interrupt, but I think the last hour of discussion on road design was a perfect example of why it was a benefit to have an engineer. I mean, I don't think in a while, Brent, when you were in office, did you put a geotextile fabric down on roads?
Occasionally we did in Thousand Areas.
And then, so it's like engineering parts that you may not know about. And you said you did, but there's probably areas like the roads that we have problems on that may not have been properly designed in the first place.
Mr. Jason, our staff.
As a member of staff who will be directly affected by this decision, I feel it's important that you hear from staff and those people who you're asking to take on these additional requirements.
I'm not asking for you to take on additional requirements.
You just, the 40 hours a week is being cut down to 20s, and you said that there were other departments that additional responsibilities could be transferred to.
I wasn't asking. I guess I was talking about the position being more efficient.
Okay, well, let me just, if I can, just share with you, from my vantage point, why I need an engineer.